Okay, so um, now that we've actually returned to tech, well, some of us have returned to tech. Um, so now we're going to move on to shirts, and I've got my half scale bodice here. In the brief, please read carefully through your brief. It's so vital that you read through your brief, because I still find some people not adding seam allowances and proper labels to their patterns, especially their final patterns, the ones that you submit, and obviously that counts against you, and I do mark you down for that. So yeah, please go through your briefs carefully, especially for your final submissions. It's vital that you have the correct information and the correct straight of grains, and that you know where everything goes. Okay, so in your brief, it says that you have to do a full scale shirt block, and that is in your pattern book. If all the details are in your brief, I just wanted to show you what a button stand does. And so all I've done is basically, so I'm using my half scale just to show you an example of how button stands work. So I'm going to show you. I've just traced this out, and I've remarked it out. So I've got obviously we've got different sizes of buttons, obviously. um, 1 centimeter buttons are generally the size of shirt buttons, and we've got a 4-hole and got a 2-hole here, and this is a jacket button. Please notice this is a jacket button. It's quite huge, so notice that this is a jacket button. So I'm just using it as an example as to how these button stands actually work. So button stands are the extension closures of your shirts. So let's work with the purple button. So I'm just going to get my measuring tape, and I want to show you what size this button is, just so that you can see it is an actual 1 centimeter button. So I take my button and I place it on my measuring tape, and as you can see, it is 1 centimeter wide, 1.2 for the most. So what I'm going to do is, so in order to add on, because you have to add on to the center front of your shirt. Let me mark out center front. Right. In order to add on to your center front, you have to measure your button first to know how much it is that you're actually going to add on. So what we do is, the middle of the button, your shirt buttons up at the center front, exactly on the center front line. So you see, if I place my button on center front, it's exactly in the middle of my center front. So the holes need to be on center front, so I have to add on to my center front in order to accommodate the closure of this button. Okay, so the half of 1 centimeter is 5 millimeters, and I'm going to take my measuring tape and I'm going to mark 5 millimeters out, which is that way and that way. And I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to roll the line in. Okay, so just to repeat what I've done, I've drawn in my line, and as you can see, as I've mentioned, that the middle of your button should be exactly on your center front, like so. So I've added my 5 millimeters on that side. As you can see, it's necessary. So this I'm going to mark as my fold line. It's tiny, but it's there. That's my fold line, as you can see. And then, because I need to fold a piece to the back like that in order to accommodate the button stand, I'm going to add on 1 centimeter after my fold line. So if you can see, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to add on 1 centimeter over there and down here, and I'm going to say, okay. So this section actually folds to the back. I'm going to just mark that out like that. I'm going to say this piece needs fusing. Please don't forget, we use fusing for stability. We use fusing so that the holes don't spread any further. We use it so that your shirt and your button stand can last long. Also this, I'm going to say here, this is your button stand. Right, please don't forget your straight of grain. This is just an example. This is only an example so that I can show you how button stands work. But I don't want you to do this. I want you to do what is specified in your brief. So yes, so I've got my shirt, my front bodice block, and because it's a bit curved in the front, I'm going to match up my front there again, mirrored. Obviously you can see it's been mirrored. So I'm going to match it up like so that you can see your center front at your neck is matched up, and your center front at your hem is matched up. And I'm going to take my tracing wheel, and I'm going to trace the neck into the center front neck like so. And as you can see, where the button stand meets the center front neck, it's now a bit curved. So the reason for that is that once you fold your button stand back, it will take on the curve of the opposite side. So let me just cut that out really quickly. Okay, I'm going to cut this out like so. I'm going to cut it into the neck so that you can see. If you can see it properly, there's a little bit of a curve going up like that. I'm going to cut into that curve into the neck like so. Cut the hem really quickly. Please make sure that your cutting is perfect. I saw some really jagged curves in some of your submissions. I don't like untidy work, and I see that as untidy work. So this is my fold line. Let me just get my pen and make it clear that this is now my fold line. The extra 5 millimeters from center front, this is my fold line. Right, this is my fold line over here, the black line, and I'm going to fold it back like so. So as you can see, button stand has been folded back. There is the fold line, and now it folds into the neck like that. You just trim it off if it doesn't match completely. Always make sure that your lines match up before you complete your pattern, like so, like so. And now this collar, this neckline is ready for a collar. And once you stitch this in, once you stitch your collar in, this piece will be taken up into the collar stitch. Right? So now your front is ready for your button, and that is where you make your button stand, and that is how you make your cut on button stand. If you make got an extra piece of paper here, okay, let me just cut this off quickly so that we can just get back to what it was, because I want to show you another sample. If you have a button stand that you want to stitch onto the front of your shirt or your blouse, then let's measure it out quickly. So I'm back at my center front, as you can see. So what we have to do is I've got a 1 centimeter button. It's just a little bit different to the other. I've got a 1 centimeter button again, and we have got because remember what I said, 1 centimeter buttons have to be in on the direct center front of your shirt or your bodice. So you've got your pattern over here, and because previously that button stand was cut onto the shirt and it was just folded back, this is different. This time we are stitching the button stand onto your bodice. So we're going to make a separate button stand, and that is what it's called. So this time we are going to measure 5 centimeters back from the center front. So let's do that quickly, like so, like so. And I'm going to make my line like that. And at this point it's very important to remember that once this is been cut off, you have to add a seam allowance to the edge. Very, very important, because remember I said that wherever there is something to be stitched onto, there needs to be a seam allowance. Very, very important. There where something needs to be attached to something else, there has to be a seam allowance. So now that I've got the half of my button going over there, I've got the half of my button over there, I'm going to now cut that away. But remember, if we added on a piece this way, that would need to be 5 centimeters as we did previously, correct? So so now that we remember that this needs to be a 1 centimeter gap to hold the button, I'm going to take into account the fact that we are going to make a square, and let's make it a length quickly over here. And I'm going to measure what is the length of my center front. The length of my center front is 18.5, so I'm going to say like so. 18.5 is there, right? And now that we know that this from here to here is 18.5, and we measured from here to here is 18.5, and this 5 centimeters that we measured backwards, we are going to cut that off like so, right? Okay, so let me just go back quickly. So we measured 5 millimeters back, and we know that we have to add on 5 millimeters of the center front as well, because it needs to be a 1 centimeter button allowance that we add to the shirt. But because we're stitching it on to the shirt separately from this garment, we have to make a separate button stand, which is this over here. So this section over here that we are working in, that section over there, from here to there, that needs to be 1 centimeter. So I'm going to measure 1 centimeter from, just extending my line to make it easier for me, like so. Okay, so now I'm going to measure 1 centimeter there and 1 centimeter here. Okay, so now that we've got our 1 centimeter measured, I'm going to just show you really quickly. Okay, 5 millimeters this way, 5 millimeters that way, means 1 centimeter. So now we got our 1 centimeter marked out here and here, and I'm making my line, and I'm calling this line fold line. Right? This entire line is a fold line, and because we need to fold this back and it needs to match this, it needs to fold back in half like that, I'm going to add another 1 centimeter, like so and like so. Okay. Okay. So now I know that this is my fold back. We don't normally write fold back, but because you're just learning about this and I don't want you to get confused, I want you to shade this side in and say fold back. Okay. And then I also want you to say cut 1 times fabric, depending on how your shirt is, and 1 times fusing, because this piece must be fused. It's vital. Right? So now this is what I got. Let me cut this out really quickly. And I just wanted to go to the overview of what just happened here now. Okay. Okay. So what happened was we got a 1 centimeter button and we took away 5 millimeters from the front, because this button is 1 centimeter wide, so the half of 1 centimeter is 5 millimeters. And then we know we have to add on another 5 millimeters, which makes this whole section 1 centimeters over here. And then we transferred those measurements onto this button stand over here. This is 1 centimeter. This accommodates a whole button, as you can see. And we added on another piece to fold back. And very important, once your final pattern is made, there has to be seam allowance everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. Here, 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 and here. At the neckline, at the new center front, at the folded line, at the line you'll stitch onto the new center front, at the outer edge of the fold back, and at the hem. Very important. So at the end, let me just make this line darker. This is your fold line. Okay, this is my fold line. I'm going to fold it. Okay, if there was seam allowance, that would have been folded in here as well. So you can see fold back, fold back. This part is against the body, this is the outer, and this goes like that, like so. And your button, putting a pin in here, put a pin in there. Let's see what we're working with. This button is there, like so. So this is exactly how we construct shirts and blouse, men's shirts and fold backs. This is exactly how it works.